kind of leaves me weak. A mountain high is what I climb. I swim a river deep. So if you crave the time of your life, try to keep up with me. Hey, I'm gonna live, I'm gonna fly, I'm gonna soar till the day I die, on the wings of a bird of prey. Hey, 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 you're absolutely what I That's a smile on my face. You know it don't come cheap. Sure, I live the American dream. Go ahead, crucify me, yeah. I'm gonna live, I'm gonna fly, I'm gonna soar till the day I die, on the wings of a bird of prey. Hey, 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 you're absolutely what I
Ted Nugent, where's Ted Nugent? Where's Ted? Huh? Look at you. You doing well? You are a handsome devil. Thank you. Great job, Ted. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
And now, it's time for Ted Nugent's Spirit Campfire with John Brenkus. It's the physics of spirituality with attitude.
Powered by Patriot Mobile. Switch now. Go to patriotmobile.com/Ted.
All right, now that I've got that out of the way, greetings, John. Greetings, Courtney. Greeting, America and the world. Of course, Australia and New Zealand. We got to greet those people. This is the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire. And I have what I've always had for at least 69 and a half years of my 72 years, I have an intellectually spiritual erection tonight because I know that the world is throwing us some really stupid clusterfuck left curves. But John and I are going to wax poetic tonight, and we are going to identify the ugly and the bad, but we are going to maximize the good. So I say greetings to you, my spirit campfire blood brother John and the whole team, and everybody out there across the hinterland, because if you're here with Uncle Ted and John, you people are really positive shit kickers, and I salute you on this strange, treacherous January 11th, 2021. John, take it away. We were here a week ago. We've seen ugly. We've seen stupid. And we're going to be positive tonight, but I think I canceled the guests because I'm going to let you start off and give me a take on how the Brenkus family and your friends manage your priorities in what is really the saddest and I think dangerous conditions we've faced in America in my lifetime. So, John Brenkus, I await, and I think everybody awaits, your overview of the last at least 5 days.
It is, there's no other word to describe it other than sad.
Yes,
and,
it is.
You know, when I tell you that I feel very grateful to actually be down here in Georgia, and Georgia is kind of like this crazy, you know, what was this? Remember, that was the big story. What's going to happen in Georgia? What's going to happen in Georgia? And that's now become this little tiny footnote. But honestly, you know, as I've been talking to people and out and about, and thank God, you know, everything is open here in Georgia. I hear everyone's point of view. And what's interesting is that no one is happy. Doesn't matter what side you're on. Doesn't matter what ideology. No one is like, you know what? I'm really glad here's where we are. Mm-hmm. And I think that the campfire, and I think that the warmth that we can get from the campfire is that we do not feel settled as a country, as a nation, as a people. And I honestly have to say that it is not a division between red and blue. There is something else that is nearly, it's almost indescribable and sounds crazy when you say it, but it's almost like there's something bigger going on. And it's way bigger than just politics. It doesn't feel like politics. It feels like something else. And I think it's affecting everyone. And that's not, you know, I can tell you that if my hope is that down here in Georgia, where you have a lot of Republicans, a lot of Democrats, there have not been crazy riots or people angry or at each other's throats or big protests. We had our election. The result came about and everyone went about their day and we're okay. With that being said, no one feels like, yeah, we're exactly where we should be. So I feel like that striving forward and the desire to get back to where we all feel at least semi-satisfied is what's keeping my flame lit, at least a bit.
Well stated. Now, if I may, and by the way, you recommend, and it's a great positive suggestion, that we hustle and we intellectualize and prioritize, improvise, adapt, and overcome to get back where we can find some united happiness. That's a long journey on the January 11th, 2021. But if I may, I have a lot to say that, you know, I have a funny feeling that I've never said anything, John, and I'm verbose. I talk because I really have passion. I have feelings. I'm the head of a household. I have responsibilities. And when you pursue responsibilities with a sense of dedication and omniscience, we'll never attain omnisciance, but we should aspire to a higher level of awareness. So I could repeat what I've always said, because I have a feeling that nothing that has ever come out of Ted Nugent's mouth hasn't been said before in the history of our species. But before I take current and topical examination of the clusterfuck we are in, I came across some things. This is in the pages of a publication. We had John Ranswiller on here, the publisher and editor of Hook and Barrel magazine. And I'm proud to write for this publication. But as I opened the pages, I came across Native American wisdom. And again, this could be you, John. This could be people I know and respect that are educated, not necessarily book-wise, but experience and omniscient-wise. Native American wisdom from the very first pages of Hook and Barrel magazine. Just a little insert as an inspiration. John's creative that way. Native American wisdom. We do not want riches, but we want to train our children right. Riches would do us no good. We could not take them with us to the other world. We do not want riches. We want peace and love. Red Cloud, Lakota Sioux. I'm going to continue, John, if I may. I got another book from an author that I just began to indulge. It's called A New Beginning, The Smoke of 1,000 Lodge Fires by a gentleman by the name of Stephen Hightower. And he wrote me a nice dedication. But as soon as I opened it, I just got to the sleeve. And I would like to share this. This is a spirit campfire. And it's heavy on the spirit. It's not just a clever statement. It's an accurate identification of our campfire. Is it not? It's a deep spiritual blaze of life's appreciation. So I will continue. With the pages of A New Beginning, The Smoke of 1,000 Lodge Fires, you will find many ancient spiritual truths. I probably could have said that. You could have wrote that. Here are just a few from our Native American brothers and sisters. And because I celebrate that native mystical flight of the arrow, which, by the way, I'll talk about a beautiful snow hunt yesterday. We had a damn Michigan type blizzard snow blow yesterday. I couldn't wait to get out there and make naked angels in the snow. And I got a hard on, so I was face down so I could actually spin around on my appendage. But that's a different story altogether. That's more of a native rock and roll statement. But anyhow, I hope you're following me on that. It's quite a visual.
I'm following you. I got that image in my head. Go ahead.
I'll give you, take a deep breath and it will go away eventually, John. You'll be okay. I'm here to help.
I know you are. But you just gave me a terrible image, but that's okay. Maybe it was a great image.
I on those tangents, so I'm going to return to a very important tangent on the Ted and Nugent Spirit Campfire with John Brenkus, on a very interesting and to many people scary January 11th, 2021. If we wonder often, the gift of knowledge will come. Arapaho. If we wonder, in other words, don't take status quo, don't take our paradigm as it is. If we wonder often, the gift of knowledge will come. That's where I got all my knowledge, John, and I continue to do so. We will be known forever by the tracks we leave. Dakota. I'm going to repeat that, especially today, John.
Yeah.
We will be known for, I'm going to fucking cry here because this touches me so deeply on the anniversary of my brother John's death. And where Rocco's girlfriend, Belle, is in her own way celebrating the death of her mother's anniversary today. We will be known forever by the tracks that we leave. Dakota, the Native American Dakota tribe. God gives us each a song. The Ute tribe. God gives us each a song. What are we singing? What tracks are we leaving? Now from the Mohawk, a good chief gives, he does not take. The Mohawk tribe. Walk lightly in spring, Mother Earth is pregnant. The Kiowa, Native Americans. This is maybe I could, well, I've said that in my own way, and it doesn't have to be spring, summer, fall, winter. It doesn't necessarily mean the nature's four seasons. Walk lightly in spring, Mother Earth is pregnant. There is no death. There is no death, only a change of worlds. Apache. Do not be afraid to cry. It will free the mind of sorrow. The Hopi Indians. Boy, I didn't know that one was even coming, John. Wow. Remember, your children are not your own, but are lent to you by the Creator. Mohawk. You already possess everything necessary to become great. The Crow. You already possess everything necessary to become great. It is no longer good enough to cry peace. We must act peace, live peace, and live in peace. The Shenandoah Native American tribe. These are worth repeating. I'm going to be inserting them as we continue the Spirit Campfire because they're concise, they're powerful, and they're universally applicable. Don't you think that was a nice volley of Native people's guidance that a lot of us can use on January 21, on January 11, 2021?
Yeah.
But John, you and I could have wrote those, and you've said these things, maybe not word for word. You've lived these things. I live these things. I think most people on the Spirit Campfire adhere to this conscientious conduct so that we do no harm. And that will bring me to my overview of how I see things, if I may.
Go ahead.
Donald Trump did not incite violence. I read his speech over and over again. Zero inciting of any violent or criminal behavior. He wanted to make a statement, just like Martin Luther King Jr., that many, many millions of Americans would go to our house, the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and make the unified statement, we believe in Donald Trump, we believe in the good deeds he has accomplished, and that we are fearful that the tsunami of evidence of a fraudulent, corrupt, manipulated voting orgy, that you just can't say there's no evidence of fraud. An election by a guy that never campaigned, that did not get more votes than Barack Obama. He did not get more votes than President Trump. The suitcases came out, and the people that were supposed to monitor the votes were thrown out of the room. There's footage of it. The sworn testimony and affidavits by people who were thrown out of the voting precincts, whose job it was to monitor. I could go on. I think everybody knows that every possible deception was applied to the recent election, and Donald Trump wanted Americans who believe that, witness that, and know that to make a peaceful protest out of the First Amendment. And I am convinced, equally to those statements I just made, that Antifa and Black Lives Matter terrorists infiltrated that peaceful protest, and they are the ones who initiated the violence. Did some overzealous Trumpsters get out of hand? I don't believe they hurt anyone. I don't believe they damaged anything. And if they did, and if I see evidence to that end, I will admit it, that nobody's pure, nobody's soul is incapable of mistakes. But I believe that the bizarre, maniacal scramble to shut down this president, to shut down me, to shut down Candace Owens, is the most un-American, manifestation of a cultural deprivation I think I've ever seen, John. So I will turn it over to you to respond or make your own statement. But I believe that, and in a moment, I will offer remedies that I have absolute faith in. And they're proven remedies. They're not something the guitar player pulled out of his ass. But we are at a crossroads. And as that famous catcher said, we should probably take it.
Here's what's interesting. And as you know, I want to go high level here. I think it is incredibly important for everyone to say, what do you believe in? Like, what at your core do you believe? What do you really, really believe? And when I ask myself that and my kids that, when we sat around the dining room table tonight and prayed, I honestly believe our job is to love one another. I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that the only job we have here is to perpetuate love, is to perpetuate positive energy. That's why having children is such a gift, because you're leaving, when you go off into the great beyond, you're leaving behind a piece of you that is born of love. And that is that idea. And for those who don't have children, serving others and being a role model and all of that, to me, that is our job. And I feel like we are being put to the test at this very moment. Can we love everyone? Can we? And when you look at the different tenets of religion, and this is where people will say, what do you do against a force that is willing to do the unthinkable to you? Can you love your enemy is the question. And when we look back on our Native Americans and we say, what happened to Native American tribes when they welcomed everybody into their camps? And what ended up happening? Time and time again, we are proven that, yes, our job is to love one another, and we need to perpetuate that love. I feel like we are at a point in our history where we are being put to the ultimate test. And I pray that we can rise up to it and that we all can realize, we really do need to love one another. And in what you just said, Ted, everything that you sort of laid out, that, everyone is being censored 6 ways to Sunday, that you're not allowed to say the things that Ted just said. I find that crazy, that especially after coming out of 4 years of Russia fixed an election and hearing all the terrible things that happened, and the only way that this guy got elected is this. And I'm not even a fan of the guy. I didn't even vote for him. In 2016, I'm sitting back. I'm like, I am like the farthest thing from a Trump fan who was like, obviously the Russia set this up and this was all crazy. In my opinion, didn't happen. But with that being said, everybody had a right to say it. You could say it. You can even think it if you want. You have a right. And I want to make sure that this is very clear. You have a right to be wrong. That's a great right. You could be totally crazy, but you have a right to be crazy if you think wrong. Now, you're not allowed to do harm to others. You're not allowed to hurt anybody. You're not allowed to stand in the way of someone else's prosperity by whatever in what you think and say and do, but you can be wrong. And when we look at what happened in Washington, D.C., I think it's a Rorschach painting. I think that everybody's making it out to be whatever it is that they want it to be. And when I started by saying that makes me kind of sad, it makes me sad because some people will say, wow, that was a great thing. And some people will say, wow, that was a horrible thing. And some people will say it was part great and part horrible. And no matter who you're talking to, what I say is, whatever you think happened, you have the right to think that. I mean, you have the right to. Now, do you have the right to support violence? No, of course not. That's against the law, but that's always been against the law. But if you think people were patriots and showed up, great. If you think violence is good, that's bad. Yeah, and violence has never been something to cheer about. So I feel like we're sitting in the middle of a moment when we're being put to the test of truly loving one another. And I don't know how it shakes out, Ted. I really don't.
And I think those are words of wisdom, and that's why we have a successful communication here at the Spirit Campfire. But let me throw a counterpunch there. Yes, we should love everybody, and in many instances it happens. And we can compartmentalize and circle our wagons to make sure that positive people and loving people who deserve, appreciate, and reciprocate that love and positive spirit are in our tribe, in our village, in our family, in our life, in our business. But I don't love Nazis. I don't love the Klan. I don't love, and I'm not going to show any love for a guy coming at my family with a Molotov cocktail. My love will be guided and prioritized to those who deserve that love, and the man who wants to burn my family does not deserve that love. Let me just state that these are extremely trying times, because I think we're all motivated to be as positive and loving as possible. But it is not only extremely difficult, right now it is virtually impossible, because somebody killed that Capitol cop. Somebody busted through those windows, and I can't love those people. If they had a reasonable statement that was against those things I believe in, I would nod and I would go, thank you for that input. I think you're wrong. But then I don't know if I'd shake hands, and I don't know if I would necessarily love them, but I would bring no harm to them. But if they manifest their counter points of view with murder and arson and the destruction of private property, I'm sorry, that's where my love stops. My love is guided and directed at the positive forces that will take that love. So here, now that I think we've covered that, but here's my point that I've been making for the last at least 50 years. Probably 54 years, since I was 18.
Yeah, maybe 60 years.
I've always said that this experiment in self-government is a participatory experiment in self-government. It's not a spectator sport. And as I have always communicated with my elected employees, that I have the right to defend my life. I have a First Amendment from God. It's my individual right. And I'm glad our founding fathers wrote it down, because the king didn't acknowledge it or honor it. So we wrote it down so that nobody could play king again, Google. So that nobody could play king again. Joe Biden shutting down church, Gretchen Whitmer shutting down churches, but you can still buy dope and beer, but you can't go to church. So our First Amendment rights are being assaulted and infringed upon. And I also expressed to my elected employees that I have the individual right from God to keep and bear arms to defend my precious gift of life. I have that right on planet Earth. And I don't need your paperwork. I don't need to go down to the sheriff's department and get a permit for my right to self-defense. This is how we've been backed into a corner. I created a colloquialism recently, if I may, I hope it spreads, and that it has always been said that compromise is the art of politics. Wrong. Compromise is the art of liberalism. Our Second Amendment is gone. We can't keep and bear in America. Our First Amendment appears, John, to be gone in now. And again, maybe it's not for me. I still would say what I want to say, and I go to the church I want to go to church because I live in Texas, and I can assemble because I will if I want to, and I can have privacy from jackbooted thugs breaking into my home because I've sent that message that I will have that right. But If any American has lost a right, we must all fight to regain those rights for our fellow Americans. I don't want to just cure cancer if I get it. I want to cure cancer so that all the victims of cancer can be cured. So if I can go on a couple of points here. First of all, a big thank you. This is a perfect example of the positive spirit you're talking about. We had the bows and badges, the great people that sent Shemaine and I a wonderful letter. It's a great foundation that brings the mystical flight of the arrow spirit for the heroes of law enforcement and first responders, and in many cases, the military. Those are the kind of people we draw here on the Spirit Campfire. I had a long talk with Colonel Alan West today, a great hero of the military and a great we the people experimenter in self-government demanding constitutional accountability from his elected employees. Let me repeat that. That's why I've been considered a radical, because I actually call my mayor, I call my governor, I call my senator, I call my congressman, and by the way, all 50 states, and I go, I support Donald Trump. I have the right to self-defense. I have the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth. I have amendments in your jurisdiction. This is still America. I'm in America. The Constitution is about Americans. These are my rights. And you have infringements, and I want you to get rid of them. People have always called me a radical, John, and the things that I do that have been labeled radical are the most basic, simple, common sense duties and conduct of a free man. So at the Spirit Campfire, we're identifying points of view, we're identifying moments in these current outrageous times, but it is not too late. If you don't call your mayor, they laugh in your face because you don't matter. If you don't call your governor, he's going to do what people who do call want him to do. If you don't communicate with your elected employees, they're going to walk all over you. January 11, 2021, they've been doing it since the 60s.
Yeah.
And it's because you haven't raised adequate hell. And I think, John, that's love. Love of freedom, love of individual rights, love of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And if you don't fight for those rights, here we are. They've been chopped away, and many people have lost them completely, John.
Yes. And here's interesting. I want to recap a conversation I had with the wonderful woman who cut my hair. I have a nice haircut here. Look at this.
It's a beauty. I could have done that with my Bowie knife, by the way.
Yes, you could have. So here is how the conversation went. It was a very simple, very nice lady. And, obviously there's the elephant in the room. And she's like, yeah, so what do you think? And I'm like, oh, man, I think everyone's lost their mind. And so she said, and she went on unprompted and said, you know what? Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all that, they're all private corporations. They're all corporations that are allowed to make their own rules, and they're allowed to decide who they want in and who they want out. And she continued and said, what happened in D.C. was a total travesty. It is something that was ugly and disgusting and despicable. And a platform like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, they have every right to say, we don't play like that. We don't want those kind in our camp. So we want to tell them to go away. To which I said, I'm a business owner myself, and I agree that you should be able to say who you want in your camp or not. But I asked her, do you believe that is actually making a statement? She said what is happening is that companies are making a statement about what they believe in. I said, okay, then how those same companies that you're talking about, what is their stance on pornography? What is their stance on human trafficking and rape and incest and child molestation and all of the awful, terrible, horrible, dark things in human existence? Like, where do you think pornography and, the various companies around the world, Where are their videos stored? How are you streaming the videos? How do you even know about them? How are you even communicating about them? They're going through the same very channels that are saying they don't want the Trump kind in their camp. So if you're actually making a statement, you're saying, I'm making a hardline statement. So you're then inevitably saying, well, if you're telling me what you don't want, you also must be telling me what you do want. And those things that you do want, you haven't done anything about. So if you're making a statement, I hear it loud and clear. And you want me to draw a conclusion as to what your character is made of. So if you've eliminated some things but kept other things, then I have no other choice but to determine pornography is fine. Evidently, it's a fantastic thing to have in your camp because those things that happened in Trump land are so abhorrent that you're banning it, and yet pornography is being left there. So let me just draw a conclusion. To which she said, that's a great point.
Yeah,
and I said,
a great point.
Right. I said, that is a great point. If you are actually saying to me that you want to make a statement, if you were saying to me, well, listen, we just want this for political expedience and we want to shut somebody up and we're not trying to make a point, we're just trying to zip someone's mouth shut, then I will accept it. But if you're really trying to say to me, well, I'm trying to tell you what our company stands for, then let's list the things that your company stands for.
Well, see, John, you're a critical thinker. I'm a critical thinker. I'm a suspicious guy because I came up in a world of rock and roll where substance abuse was literally universal. And I had to step back and make the decision as a mushy brain, ignorant teenager, do I want to partake in the conduct that I'm watching my buddies forget the arrangement to the song, fail to tune their instruments, hit the wrong chord, show up late, fall asleep on their keyboard? So critical thinking now more than ever, and I think it's going to take guys like you and me, and again, everybody I know, Doug Banker and Linda Peterson, boy, Courtney, my wife, Shemaine, my sons and daughters, my brother, my sister. My brother Jeff is another story. We hope to have him on sometime because there's a bit of a rift going on there between me and my loving brother Jeff. Point being that the Spirit Campfire has inspired, I've seen it, I've gotten the feedback on my Facebook and wandering the not-so-mean streets of America, that people are starting to be critical thinkers. If that haircutting gal said what she said to you, to most people, I don't think many people hear clearly or adequately dissect what it is they do hear. You dissected what she said, and you saw some shortcomings in her attempted conclusion, and you gave her alternative considerations so that she might have. I cause a lot of furrowed brows and squints when I talk about, especially back in the 60s and 70s, about Second Amendment and hunting rights and conservation and, you know, sustained yield, science, wildlife management. I'd get a lot of this. Oh, I see what you mean. Well, that makes sense. Because they never thought about it. Somebody said, we need to ban guns. Yeah, I could see that. But they didn't think. So on the Spirit Campfire, I know we've already accomplished this, and your scenario you just laid out, a perfect example. Listen to people. Cultivate a dialogue, especially with those who you don't see eye to eye with on everything. Take it point for point. When they go, that damn Trunk's just an arrogant asshole. Well, okay, I'm an arrogant asshole sometimes, but I'm cute, I'm nice, I'm funny. I didn't hurt anybody.
You just broke your own rule. There's nothing cute about Ted Nugent. You know that.
I don't know, man. But you should see me naked in the snow, baby. Those snow angels. That's about as cute
You
as
said
they
never
get.
use the word cute to describe anything I do.
Well, there are some alterations. My point being, critical thinking is so important. So let's inspire everybody in our life to listen, but don't jump to the next point till you at least reasonably come to a conclusion on the one point. Okay, he's an arrogant asshole. Was he an arrogant asshole when he renegotiated NAFTA so that America would make billions of dollars instead of paying billions of dollars? Was he an arrogant asshole when he brought the Jewish headquarters, capital to Jerusalem as they've dreamed forever? Was he an arrogant asshole when he created the best economy in the history of America and created the lowest unemployment for all stratas of our culture? I mean, stop me when I get to the arrogant asshole part.
Hey, Ted, I got a new radical way. I've got a radical way that we can really frame this dialogue. And I'm gonna throw this out there. You lived through the what were they called? The PMRC? What was Tipper Gore's?
Yeah, right. They put a sticker on my record because they didn't understand the Wang Dang Sweet Poontang love song. They just didn't get it.
And now remember that was in that's in the 80s. That was in the early 90s. And it was the PMRC, and remember Dee Snider went down to Congress and just said, when you put the label that says explicit lyrics, you're going to increase sales. You're going to do the exact opposite of what you want to do because you're telling everybody. Always, right? You put the label on the cigarette box that says these things are terrible for you, you're going to increase sales. It happens all the time. And so here's what I want to say to you, Ted. I think we may be the new definition of liberals.
Yes, there's no doubt.
Be the new definition because we are saying, you know what? Don't put the sticker on it. Let it be. Let it be. You can wear what you want. You can say what you want. You can do whatever. In a lot of ways, it's hippie love. And maybe now in 2021, we are the liberals. Maybe that's the way that everybody can frame it because I feel like, look, don't put a sticker on this. Don't put a sticker on that because you're going to do the thing you're trying to prevent. Yeah. So that idea and maybe the words that we're using are going to change. I don't know else how to say it.
Well, that's a great example. And I think the defining example, remember Larry Flint won. Hustler magazine was okayed as freedom of speech. The First Amendment is about protecting the most offensive of speech, the most unpopular of speech. It's about opening up a dialogue so that if somebody's got a really stupid idea, you don't want to shut him down. You want him to voice that. So smart, critical thinking people of spiritual, intellectual, quality prioritizations can go, all right, I'm listening to you. You're making your point. And it's really stupid. I'm glad you said that. Again, the First Amendment isn't about protecting the most pleasant and popular speech amongst us. It's there to protect open, uncensored dialogue. And this, I'm going to jump back to the Google heads and the outrageous, abject muzzling of counterpoints by the high-tech people. I believe that's the new town square. That's where the vast majority of First Amendment speech, points of views, expression, that's it. That's the new town square. You know me, I don't want the government meddling with anything. But if ever there was a time where a private corporation, especially those that are getting so monopolistic, and having so much control over the overall pulse of our culture and society, somebody's got to step in and go, I'm sorry, the First Amendment is about protecting uninhibited, uncensored dialogue and unlimited points of view, you're restricting this, and you happen to be in control of the new town square. I think it's got to come to an end, because here's one for you. There's a bunch of heroes of the military that have, and maybe I'll get in trouble for doing this. It's called, it's spelled out, 912united.com. Because remember, on September 12th, 2001, we were more united than maybe just after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where we stopped the evil Japanese Empire, and we saved millions of lives by stopping those monsters that were maniacally dedicated to their emperor. I think emperors are pricks. I don't want any emperor. No emperors allowed. No kings allowed. No despots allowed. No slave drivers allowed. Kiss my ass, emperor. But anyhow, we were united after World War II because we crushed glaring evil. And we were united on September 12th, 2001, because we all felt threatened by an outside evil as Americans united. There's a great organization called 912united.com. They have been banned from social media because they're coming out and saying, the historical colloquialisms like "don't tread on me," "come and take it," like the flag that I've signed. 912united.com. I hope we don't lose Spirit Campfire over me promoting these guys, but you can't shut these people down.
Well,
and then, by the way, here's another example. So people will say, well, maybe we'll kill your kids and put their heads on the wall and see how that feels, Mr. Big Game Hunter. Those people have never been censored. They threatened to kill my children and put their heads on the wall, and they're not stopped. But I respond with a street sass, and I get put in Facebook jail because I'm angry that someone would threaten to kill my children and put their head on the wall. You see what's going on here? So it really is an extreme gang that controls what I think is common sense, good-natured people, even though I think we should also protect both extremes. This is where we're at today. And if they can ban the president of the United States with the primary voice that he has available on social media, that can't be good for our culture, our country, or the future of our society.
Ted, I want to walk the walk, and I got to reach into the comment. I mean, we probably have a record number of comments tonight, but the gentleman's name, I think, here it is, Robert Dorton. He said, Trump is the worst president ever in America's history. And here's what
Isn't that amazing? Because I think he's the best president. And by the way, he has the right to say that.
He has the right to say that. Robert, and listen, I love you, dude. I love you. I don't know if you're right or wrong, but you have the right to say it. It's wonderful. I want to make sure that we are walking the walk, and we're saying you have the right to say that, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with posting that in our room. That's perfectly fine, because that's your opinion. Okay, here's another person. Robert May. Free speech is the only way to uncover deception. Robert, you have the right to believe that.
Yep.
Yes, that is correct. And we could go on and on and on and say, listen, we're sitting around a campfire and we're allowed to exchange ideas, and we can agree, we can disagree. It seems crazy that our Spirit Campfire might be one of the last places left flickering light of honest exchange of ideas until the great almighty tech company says, we don't want you to exchange ideas. For anybody who thought tonight Ted Nugent was going to get on and go off and say something or do something crazy, because you know what? Here's what's obvious to me. People want, when I say us, free-thinking people, to take the bait and to hang ourselves and to do something. I refuse to say, look, I'm not being baited into anything. I and Ted are going to remain consistent. Ted has never advocated violence. Ted has never advocated doing any harm. Ted has been do no harm. Ted and I have always said, love everyone. Ted phrases the love everyone differently than I do, but at its core, we're both saying the same thing, and we can phrase it any way that we want. I think that this campfire, this exchange of ideas, these people who are literally saying, John, you are crazy. Here's Joel. Joel says, John, you are crazy. You could be right. You could be right. You have the right to think that, and that's fine. Like, that is the world that we should live in, that we have lived in, and that we want to continue to live in.
Well, you know, we started this really, quite honestly, back on Independence Day in 2019. And I understand, based on my commando woman in charge, Linda Peters. By the way, Linda, I love you madly. Linda's been with me for 31 years, I think. She's probably only going, 32, mister! She's been with me forever. And she is such a miracle worker. There is nothing this woman can do. Linda's job description is, yes, I can do that, and I can do it really, really good. So Linda has informed me that this may be our 54th Spirit Campfire. We've had wonderful, wonderful guests. We've had a lot of fun. I've been tweaking my guitar tone. I have a killer guitar tone. I've made many, many new friends because some people bought the dishonesty of the propaganda ministry that claimed I was a hater and I wanted to hurt people and I dodged the draft and all these nasty things that the mainstream media says about me. And they've come on here and they've articulated quite clearly that I really love the Spirit Campfire. I agree with a lot of what you say. I don't agree with everything that you say, but it's an inspirational dialogue with you and John and the input from the viewers and the listeners. So I know we're on the right track here. I know that we do reek of love and openness and patience and accommodating any and all points of view, short of doing harm.
Right.
Short of doing, I'll bet you that guy that said Trump's the worst president ever. Well, I don't care what his name was. I mean, I got the name when you first said it. But whoever he is, I'll bet you that if he and I met on the street, we would shake hands with a big shit-eating grin on our face, talk about the Spirit Campfire, and he might offer why he thinks Trump's the worst president. But John, I've had that happen before, and I've made friends with these people. Because it's not like we're going to get into a fisticuff because we disagree. There's a gentlemanliness. There's a level of real tolerance, not just voice tolerance, but genuine tolerance for opposing points of view. And I think the Spirit Campfire, John, I think you might be right. This might be the last of them. We might be the last of the Mohicans here for truth, logic, common sense, goodwill, decency, and loving your neighbor, no matter what their point of view or their walk of life may be.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Here's continuing to walk the walk. Mike responding to my argument on pornography. Mike's, I'm not going to say his. I mean, everybody can look it up in the chat room. He says porn is art. As long as everyone involved is doing it of their own free will and they are compensated fairly, it is not evil. Listen, Mike, you can have that point of view. I love you just the same. I will tell you, I totally understand the business argument of that. To me, the moral argument, I always apply. And this is just me. And maybe I'm crazy. I always say, what the things that I do I want my children to see? And that's a simple measure. Do I want my children to watch the Spirit Campfire? Do I want them to listen to Ted's music? Do I want them to see the shows that I do? If the answer is yeah, then I feel like that's in bounds. To me, the argument of pornography, we can go around and around and around on where you stand on it. However you stand on it, all I know is you have the right to feel that way. And I don't think you're a terrible human being. I think you've got a point of view. You articulated it, and we can have that kind of exchange.
I got a funny story for you because
maybe I'm a liberal. Maybe we are liberals, Ted. Jeez.
I live for sex, okay? I've always lived
I didn't
for
know
sex.
that.
I married the sexiest creature that ever walked the earth. She just reeks of sensuality and sexuality. And I've written songs about my fascination and adventure in the world of sex, the wango tango hysteria and wang dang. It's mostly just comical stuff, and some silly innuendos. And of course, if you bend over, I could put it innuendo. Anyhow, my point being is that I was invited by some rock DJs one time to a topless bar. Now you might not believe this, but this is me in a world of intimate personal sex versus a public display. So I go in and there's some good looking skinny bitches. I mean, really long legs, and they got the shape and the hips, and the belly goes in, and they got the little belly button, and I'm checking out all that anatomy, man. I felt like I was Dr. Gonzo. But they started dancing butt naked. John?
Yep.
I had to leave. I was really uncomfortable with the guys slobbering and the slithering in public and humping, and I mean, we could do that in my room, but you know, maybe I'm weird. But I think we're way beyond the maybe stage. But my point is that I think it has its place, and I think to our friend who says that porn is art, can it be? Certainly. Is the human body art ultimate? Absolutely it is. I've studied it all my life. But the statistics bear out that lives are ruined, hearts are broken, families are destroyed, because at some point, some of them will be forever comfortable with public sexual displays. And to them, have at it. I support you. I ain't going to come and watch, but somebody's going to. And if you're doing it to your own free will, so the free will part is the deciding factor. However, the statistics prove out that there's a vapor trail of overdose deaths, premature suicide, because most people, they will end up with just a horror story of guilt and confusion, because I'm convinced that sex isn't supposed to be a public display. I think it's supposed to be intimate. I think it's supposed to be personal and human. And I find that porno, I can't even watch it. I find it absolutely disgusting, and I feel sorry for the participants. Now, the participants love it, then go nuts. I'm all for you. Do whatever you want to do, as long as everybody is in agreement and supportive. But unfortunately, the statistics prove that everybody is not.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me is I think like porn is a great argument. It's kind of the extreme, right? Where we're talking about free speech and what it's about. And we've been debating. Remember when 2 Live Crew was shut down at clubs because their speech was considered pornographic? And I was working at WAVA Radio 105 FM in Washington, D.C. when that happened. And I booked Luther Campbell on a show, and they were arrested for pornographic speech. And guess what happened to their album sales? Just guess. Guess what happened? Went through the roof, like everything else, because everybody made a big kerfluffle about it. But if you let them stand up, if you let the ideas exist, the good ones stick and they stay. Sure. If you stood in the town square and said, I've got these incredibly valuable, rocks. These rocks are really valuable. And everybody walked up in the town square and said, let me look at that rock. And you then said, dude, this is just a rock. It's asphalt. It's worthless. Your idea is idiotic. Then the rock guy goes out of business. But if you say, hey, that guy's got some rocks that we're not going to let you hear about because we don't want you to buy them, Bingo. Then when he goes into his own little house, he's going to take 10 people, 20 people, and all of a sudden that rock has value. An otherwise worthless piece of crap because you told people that you didn't want them to hear about it. It's the free exchange of ideas is so important. And remember my rock analogy that you're all going to be valuing rocks because people are telling you you're not allowed to listen to it. That's the insanity of the whole thing. Then you can use example after example in history of why this happens and how this happens. And in our chat room, here's what's interesting. Colleen reminded us of a great quote, Ted. When you tear out a man's tongue, you're not proving him a liar. You're only telling the world that you fear what he might say.
Bingo.
It's a great quote, Colleen. That's a great quote to remind us. George then says, strip clubs are pathetic. Now, George is saying that right next to the guy that said porn is art. God bless you all.
Yeah.
We, Ted and I, love you all. Love you.
Yes. So, John, this has been a wonderful Spirit Campfire. The times are very, very difficult. And I would like to wrap this up by saying, I don't know, religion, spirituality, churches, synagogues, mosques, everybody has to choose their own spiritual maneuvers. But today, I think most Americans would agree that this is time for some serious prayers. I personally pray for Donald Trump because I believe he is wrongly accused, wrongly condemned, viciously and wrongly demonized. I think most things from the media about President Trump are lies. They twist, they manipulate. They seem to be hell-bent on hurting the man. And more importantly than that, the demonization and the hate spewed towards anybody that supports him. So let's all pray for the things that we want to help and benefit. But I personally am praying for Donald Trump and his family. I believe that he was elected for a second term. I believe that Joe Biden's and his policies, just Kamala Harris's, her political history is horrible for America. What she's done in California, and I think we can summarize it by just looking at how down the rabbit hole the Democrats have gone. Do you really want America to look like Chicago? Do you want America to look like Seattle? Do you want America to look like San Francisco? Do you want America to look like New York City? I mean, I love New York City back when it was New York City. It ain't New York City anymore. So I would like to think that if you're not communicating with your elected employees, you don't matter. Just to call to your mayor, your governor, your congressman, your senator, go, my family believes in Donald Trump, or my family believes in Joe Biden, if that's what you want to say. But without experimenting in self-government and being an active participating we the people, it is not looking good for this country. The policies of the left have historically, I got to tell you, I did a chalkboard list of Joe Biden policies, John, and you know who had the same policies? Mugabe, when he turned Zimbabwe from the breadbasket of Africa into just an absolute horror zone.
Yeah.
Literally, if you examine the history of governments that have followed open borders, banning of firearms, overtaxation without representation, you've got Venezuela and Zimbabwe, and that literally is the course that the Democrats have identified. So that's my view based on intense research and analysis, based on movement in other cultures to absolute hell. And if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the people he's appointing pursue their documented historical programs, Zimbabwe, eventually Zimbabwe or Venezuela. And I don't think that's what any hardworking, don't even have to be conservative, just a sensible, conscientious, caring, loving American, hardworking American. That doesn't work for hardworking Americans. It doesn't work for conscientious Americans. It doesn't work for loving Americans. It doesn't work for generous Americans. It doesn't work for productive Americans. We are seeing the cultivation of environment that couldn't be more anti-entrepreneurial than the policies I've seen outlined by Joe Biden and his team. So that is the Ted Nugent observation based on evidence that I'd be more than happy to share with anybody. I don't know how you could possibly not be aware of the evidence that I'm citing. But John, I thank you and Courtney and Linda and Doug and Herbert and everybody who has ever joined us on this campfire. We are going to keep going as long as we don't get censored, as long as we don't get shut down. 2021 shows some very scary developments. But on a positive note, Jason Hartless and Greg Smith and I couldn't be more cocked, locked, and ready to rock the Glock, Gibson, Birdland, Sonic, Bombast, American Rhythm and Blues rock and roll dream. If we can, and we don't get completely shut down by the zombies on the left, we will have the greatest tour of our life because we are breathing fire. We are so horny to unleash these songs that we love. And another update, I've written some killer new songs. And I hope to get Jason and Greg into the studio sometime in March. Hopefully, we'll do some spirit campfires from that studio if we can get all the. Would that be awesome? Dude. And unleash some of these new songs live to the world. So there's a lot of positives that I'm cultivating, but I keep my eye on the ball, and the ball is pretty grimy right now. The ball is uninflated. The ball is going down the latrine right now. My eye is on it. But I'm going to remain positive. I'm going to pray for the president, pray for America. I'm going to continue to support people in the asset column. I'm going to continue to force myself dedicated to the man in the arena. No matter how we stumble, we are going to get back up, dust ourselves off, and get back in the fight. We have killer guests coming up. We got Kyle Green, this young producer of a killer Greenway Outdoors TV show. We got the unbelievable warrior gal, Lauren Boebert, who's become a congressman from Colorado, who owns and operates Shooters Bar and Grill in Rifle, Colorado, who's demanding that she gets to keep and bear arms as a congressman in Washington, D.C., and she's running into all kinds of trouble, and she is such a fighter. So we've got some great, great guests coming up. I also want to give a big salute to Shane Henderson of Freedom Cabinets that are making these beautiful metal art of Wisconsin. Here's another little update, another entrepreneur, a guy named Gary Christensen's got Bad Boys of Pro Tracker Archery, has a weight increasing sleeve that maximizes penetration for a quick, clean kill, because there's a dynamic to the mystical flight of the arrow that slightly heavier forward of center weight facilitates a more correcting arrow, because when an arrow comes off the bow, it's whipping back and forth from G-forces and overall science. But with Gary Christensen's Bad Boys of Pro Tracker Archery, he's got these sleeves that causes the arrow to correct itself, fly straighter, hit the target in a more straight delivery of the kinetic energy that it has. So there's a lot of positive stuff. I got a beautiful Aoudad, a beautiful 350-pound Aoudad in the snow last night. It was one of my favorite things in life. I think I can show you a picture of it. I was filming myself. I don't know if you can see this, but it's just a monster of a African sheep. A wild sheep with giant horns, and it was the most beautiful kill. And then right after that, an hour later, this beautiful doe came in, and I was able to shoot her right through the pump station. So we have lots of venison to share with our friends. So even in the clusterfuck of insanity 2021, John, I carve out a very positive, happy dream every day.
Every day. And I'm coming down to Texas soon because we got to go hunting. Yeah. So I'm all in. Everybody, listen, this has been a great campfire. The comments, if you all should go back and look at all the comments, because there's some fantastic dialogue going on.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate everyone. And here's my parting words of hope. Remember, you can choose to think for yourself. Yeah. Like, I think that's the most important thing. Don't get caught up in the herd. Individually evaluate everything. Consider the source. Make your own decision on things. I think that when you get all the ideas, all the free flow of information, you are smart. The idea when you hear, oh my God, all those people are so dumb, it's not true. It boils down to the individual. You have your own brain and you can think for yourself. So love everyone, think for yourself. And I think that we're going to right the ship on this.
Yep. And John, I think everybody felt the emotion and passion of the words that I quoted from the great Native Americans from this book. This author really is, it's a great book. I haven't read the whole thing, but with those quotes for a true north compass setting, and from the pages of Hook and Barrel magazine, John inserts some wonderful quotes of great wisdom, and we need to cling to those because they're universally applicable to each individual's life. All those Native American quotes from great cheaters, great chiefs and leaders, they will guide us on a true north compass setting, help calm us, kind of inspire us to take a deep breath and remain positive during these very difficult times. So John, Godspeed to you and everybody out there. Thank you so much for sharing this spirit campfire. It is a campfire, and it really is a spirit campfire. So God bless you all, and we'll see you next Monday. I'm going down to the 777 Ranch with a bunch of hunters we got booked down in Hondo, Texas on Thursday. So many arrows will fly and many beasts will die, and I will be a very, very happy spirit campfire guitar player throughout the crazy month of January. And before you know it, John, you'll come down here and I will stimulate your inner spirit like never before.
We'll leave it at that. All right, everybody. God bless. Keep loving.
Live it up, everybody.